If we think about the three elements that are maybe behind the PISA success, the first thing is, I would say, teacher education. And teacher education, when we talk about it, it's something then that it hasn't happened like this, but we changed our way to teach teachers or to train them during the 1970s. And after that, we have been gradually developing the system so that there has been researchers who have doing research work about teacher education and what is needed, and then gradually develop the teacher education. So that I think that is one of the things that our teachers are trained so that they really know what to do when they start to work in school. So this is one thing. And of course, if we think about then the education, what makes the difference, everyone has to do the master's degree. They are strong in the field of education, which means that many of them have, let's say, in-depth knowledge about education. And for example, in our school, many teachers have continued to do research work in education while they're working as a teachers. So it gives an idea then that they must know quite a lot about education, because they also able to do for example doctoral theses and do this type of research work. So that's one part of it. The second part is then that well, I would say then that is the curriculum. So that we also, in the same way, we have developed the curriculum along the way, and well, if we think about the curriculums, normally they change every 10 or 12 years, something like that. And when we do change in the curriculum, it's always based on careful research work. So the specialists are studying what is going on at the moment in the society, what the children will need in the future, how this should affect on our curriculum, and we change the curriculum according to that. So I think that's the second important thing, that we gradually develop the curriculum. And I think the third thing is then that that there has to be some kind of political consensus about that how to develop this educational system in general. And there has to be this type of planning which is based on that or some kind of political consensus about that, what we want in the future, how to, that we want to invest in education, and in this way we can also make the system works better. So that if we again think from this point of view, so the late 60s, early 70s, there was a strong political consensus in Finland that we have to invest in education, that education is tool for the better future. And when this decision was made, so after that there has been I would say then that for decades there has been a political decisions which have been in favor of education, so they have supported this type of development. Now we have a government who is cutting the budget in education, and who is actually doing things which we are not too happy about, which is a clear change if we think about then what has happened before this. And let's see what will happen, but we are not so happy about this situation. But then this idea then that there is this type of political consensus, it means then that then there is this leads to a situation then that there is always this development is based on careful done research. So there's evidence of that, why we do this type of change, or why we change this in education. So that is, I think, the third element, that there has to be this kind of a consensus of that it's the right thing to invest in education, because in the long run this will mean something better for the country and for the whole nation. Like, you know, we are only 5.5 million people here, so we need every talent people that we have in this country in order to develop it further on. And that's why we have to have, for example, this ideas of having this equal education and equity in education. So this possibility to everyone to learn well. It doesn't matter what kind of social background you have, you can get the top education anyway. So that is also part of that why we have I think I think those three elements are there behind the whole story. Of course, when if we think about then the outcome, like in PISA, they study what the students have learned, what type of knowledge or skills they have when they are 15 years old. Now, this is very much looking to the same direction than that what our curriculums, for example, are looking to. What type of knowledge and skills students should have at the age of 15. So those things that we find important are very often, let's say, to some extent similar that PISA is having. But this has happened by accident. So we didn't, when we do this type of planning, we didn't think about PISA and that type of things at all. We just suddenly realized that, okay, we get good results. Why? And when we started to analyze, we found out that, many of the things that we do are actually heading for something similar than what they are looking for in PISA. So, but that just happened. It wasn't meant like that. So that's also explaining to some extent this development. But one thing that is then different compared to some other countries, then that, for example, what we do not have, we don't have any such a clear structure on that how to help or support talented students. It's not in our structure how to put emphasis on talented students, but we are having a lot of rules about that, how to support those having learning difficulties, and this is I think one of the things also that explains the PISA results, because this gap between top performance students and poor performance students is pretty narrow compared to many other countries, because we give so much more support to those having learning difficulties, whatever the reason is. So we give a lot of support. But then on the other hand, then those top students, well, they manage anyways. In our system, we don't have such a structure then that, okay, if you have a talented one, you have to support him or her in this way, and you have to give this type of challenges to him or her, and so on. We don't have that in our system. But of course, it depends on teacher then that what they do. So they can decide and they can put more challenges there. But it's up to the teacher.
You should say that being less competitive, you succeed more.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway.
And I'm wondering if you could tell something about the organization of the school and the classroom, because it seems that during this process, the way that the classroom is organized changed also.
Okay. Yes, you're right. Yes, this is very much based again on that there has been earlier there was a lot of discussion about that. What is the, let's say, maximum size of the students that you have in a classroom? Well, some times ago we were happy to have, let's say, about 20 children in a class. Nowadays we say then that okay, 25 is maximum. But because there has been this cutting in budget, in education budget in many cities or municipalities, so it has led to a situation then that is in many schools 25 is quite normal. But of course it depends. Sometimes it can be 20 or even less. But I can say then that there are more children in the classroom than what it used to be. But then if we think about then how the this is anyway the trend is then that it will be better to have something like between 20 25, not more than that, because then it will affect on the results as well. But then if we think about the curriculum and what type of changes there has been, so earlier this curriculum was strongly emphasizing the knowledge that the students should have, and now we are talking about the skills, and we are talking about different competencies. And we can clearly see then that, for example, that our previous curriculum was done in 2004. So that was still based very much on this knowledge. Okay, there was a lot of discussion about skills as well, but it wasn't so clear than if we compare to this curriculum that we got now in 2016. So in this last 12 years, we can see that a clear change has happened. If we think about this, what the students need, what type of knowledge or skills they need when they continue after their 9th grade to further education or to a vocational side and so on. they need different type of skills, and we have to think about then that if one curriculum exists about 10 years, so we are talking about then that this curriculum that we have now should be valid still in 2025, 2026. How much do we know about that? What type of skills our students will need in 2025? Very difficult to say. So curriculum has to be changed because this needs that the young people have will change as well. So that's why I think then that, for example, now we talk a lot about these different competencies and the skills that the students need after the school. So that is in the focus, because we can see then that this access to the knowledge is easy nowadays because everything is in internet. So teacher's role is different in a classroom than what it used to be, and also those what then if we go outside of the school, what type of skills young people need. They need skills to work with each others, to teamwork, to collaborate, to communicate, to share knowledge, to rebuild knowledge together with others, and so on. So they need totally different types of skills than, for example, 20 years ago. And this is also something then that we have to think about, and that how we can change these different activities and practices in the classroom so that this will come true, so that we can show them that, okay, now our students, after a couple of years, we know that they will have different skills than what the earlier generations have had. But this change does not happen if we don't change the way how we assess the students. So this is also related to the fact then that if we are having, for example, standardized tests where we are only testing their knowledge, can we expect then that the way their skills will change? No. We have to also start to assess their skills and assess that how they, for example, their social skills in the classroom, or those other skills that are included, or their competencies. So we have to also change the way how we assess the students. Otherwise, nothing will happen in reality.
Talking about assessment, this is something that we are struggling in Portugal.
Yeah.
And here, how the assessment of the teacher can help or not the way they teach.
Yes. And this is something then that if we think about this, our latest curriculum from 2016, this was a clear change also then that it also was giving us different criteria for assessing the students. So we are using a lot of formative ways to assess the students. We are giving all the time feedback about the students, about the way how they act in the classroom, not only about their knowledge but their skills. And this is, and it also, for example, while we are using, for example, criteria-based assessment, so that if we think about, let's say, chemistry teacher starting a new course with, let's say, 7th graders. So in the beginning of the course, he will give the content of the course, but also how this course will be assessed. And there will be, now there has to be elements where it's saying, for example, that 20% of your final mark in, for example, 20% of your final mark in this course will come about that how you show those skills, how you cooperate with the others, and so on. So it has to be stated there, and how much is based on, let's say, exams that you are going to have, how much on that how you cooperate with others, how you do your homework and things like that. So this has to be structured, and this has to be open both to parents and to students. But also then it has to be clear for students then that how this assessment will happen in practice, so that how their skills will be assessed. This has to be written down so that both students and parents will know it. So, and this is the way how we can do it. But of course it was a, I would say then that when we were implementing this new curriculum, this was the heaviest part. How to put this different way to assess the students into practice.
Okay. Thank you very much.